Hey, what's up, everybody? It's me, Danae, and I'm here with a message for you. Happy Tuesday, friends and family. Happy Election Day. It's November 5th, 2024. The polls are still open. It's not quite the end of the day yet, but they will be closing soon. And I voted. And you know who I voted for? I voted for myself. Yes, I did. I wrote my name in on the ballot. As I spoke some time ago, it was a while ago that I talked about this, that if I did participate in this process this time around, that would probably be the only way that I would. And so I did. I wasn't even sure absolutely if that was the move until today, when I felt 100% guided to march my little self to my voting site and write my name on that ballot. So that for me is a proclamation of my own independence, a vote of confidence in myself, in my security, and in my sovereignty. Because for me, no matter who's in charge, those are the things that I can truly take stock in and believe in without integrity being bruised, investing my energy one way or another into either side of the other, of which I can't say that I feel particularly confident or compelled to do. But what that means is that for now on, you may refer to me as Madam President. Yes, you may refer to me or as Miss President, Madam President, whatever you fancy. Because I'll be running things from the 5D and above. Yes, I will. And my first order of business was prayer for our nation, for there to be acceptance and security and safety widespread. You know, that there wouldn't be any particular outbreak of foolishness or violence, or at least not in such a way that anyone innocent is affected. Because I did actually in that prayer make a concession for whatever needs to be in terms of, on the obstinate energy or those that just want to crash out for the hell of it. Hey, I have no control over that. But for the gentle and well-meaning, law-abiding citizens of this nation, I have prayed a covering of protection, peace, and acceptance over all, no matter what the outcome. Because it's just a formality. It's just whomever sits in that seat is just the face at this point. We know what the deal truly is. And if you don't know, now you know, or you will know. So I am quite comfortable in my seat of proclamation and from my bird's eyes view of lending my prayers, my words, my affirmations to continue to cultivate and secure the greatest good for all, not even just in this nation, but across the globe. And so that's what I will continue to do. Now give me my first 90 days or so to get comfortable in my spot, to really find my footing, get my bearings, ground myself, as you will. But nah, seriously, that's what my focus will, because I couldn't lend my support either way. But the difference between me last election feeling that way and completely abstaining from investing my energy at all, and this time around, is I know my vote counts this time around, in spirit and in truth. And I also have a more well-rounded spiritual perspective to know that you have a greater you lead from behind anyway, and you can make a greater impact on the state of affairs on a small scale and on a grand scale from your highest point of intentions, so that's where I am. We shall see how it unfolds, but I am looking forward to seeing what the results will be. It'll be interesting no matter what. All right, so let's see what we got here today. Page of Wands, like I said, give me some time to, learn this new position, discover this new power, this new opportunity, this new path that we're embarking on. It's fresh for one and all. Again, no matter what the outcome is, it's bound to change the soul of our nation one way or another. Yeah, well, that's not a bad sign, hopefully, with there being some spiritual satisfaction here, fulfillment, supreme self-esteem is what I hear sometimes with this card, with the Nine of Cups. There being very little to be desired as far as someone's individualism is concerned, what they've accomplished, what they have achieved, their outlook in life, what their values and morals are, like their standards and, the foundation that they have established for themselves. It's like somebody that feel in the highest vibration, of course, somebody that feels quite proud of themselves when they look in the mirror. And I'm hearing that what is that, the Mattress Firm commercials, those commercials are kind of funny when somebody does something ridiculous and they're like, how do you sleep at night? And they're like, oh, on a mattress from Mattress Firm. And I sleep all night, all night long, all night. I think those commercials are so crazy. But anyway, that triggered because I was thinking, this is somebody that sleeps well at night, knowing that they are living life well, ultimately. Yeah, and so and that is on account of setting strong boundaries and establishing a standard by which to live by, and setting yourself apart from whatever it is that may conflict with those standards. No matter what the conflict may be, and also just taking a stand. So this could also be feeling quite secure in the stance that you make, even today, as you cast your vote or not, whatever it is, that there's a certain security and a contentment that you may or may not have. In this case, someone does have, about where they stand, how they've invested their passion and their energy, where they've drawn the line, what their boundaries are, what their demands even on themselves are, their standards are, and kind of leaving that up to fate and being open to embarking on this journey however it unfolds, and having the expectation to be accepting and content come what may, because as I said, there has to be a security in self for, primarily, regardless of who is so-called in power or in leadership. Because if you don't have that that proclamation of self-empowerment established, you'll be swayed and led astray and misguided and mismanaged and taken advantage of all across this nation in some way, shape, or form. Again, on a small scale, on a large scale, if we're talking about just in your immediate surroundings, or if we're talking about, the so-called powers that be, aka powers that were. Shout out to Shabby Zane. I always like to shout out the things that, are signature to other people that I've never heard anybody else say. And she could absolutely have said it on account of someone else, although I doubt it. But when I repeat something that I've heard exclusively somewhere, I want to be sure to credit who said it, bars, because I think that's important. And I appreciate the enlightenment and the sentiment so much that I always want to give credit where credit is due. So that's why I'm always saying, no matter how many times I say that, I will always say shout out to Shabby Zane, because that's where I heard that first, or whatever saying that I feel is signature to certain spiritualists that deserve to be credited for it. But anyway, Queen of Cups is someone spiritual and naturally as well, quite intuitive, emotionally grounded, not particularly impressionable, especially emotional, considering, again, this groundedness of contentment and acceptance with whatever. Even as, you have your own projections and you may have an emotional investment in some way, shape, or form, but you are, in this case, in the Queen of Cups seat, you still have a deep rooted spirit of I hate to keep saying acceptance, but allowance as well for the greatest good of all. Like you have your intentions in this seat, but you and even your standards that you establish for your own accountability. But there's still the spirit of allowance for whatever the flow of the universe projects, or deems fit and necessary and fateful for this season of time. Wow. And it's the High Priestess. That's crazy. You know what? I'm gonna bring this down because these gots to go hand in hand. They just have to. Wow. That's powerful. Yeah, and then here's the opposite of that, this kind of resistance here with the Four of Cups, rejecting the natural order of life as it is flowing, with this Four of Cups. He's rejecting that Ace of Cups, whereas the Queen of Cups is almost coveting that, by nature. She at least looking to source it, in her own right. That divine love, again, acceptance, flow, allowance, surrender, submission, all of that good stuff is what someone, your own intuition, again, as I said, like being empowered to really take your seat of, to take your position of influence quite seriously, where y'all think I'm joking, but I'm really not, that prayer and proclamation and declaration is what is pushing this nation forward. It's what is protecting the innocents. It's what's keeping us from obliterating ourselves. it's what is keeping the powers that were in check from continuing to recycle. You know, it regardless of what this outcome in the election will be, it'll really be, they'll be hard pressed to recycle the old themes of manipulation, at least on the best of those that are vigilant about it, that ultimately have the greatest position of influence over those that may not be so vigilant or so aware, you know. So either way, like, that's why there's such a shift in power and force, as there's a transference of power and energy, because it's not those that truly have influence and can make an impact have long since accepted that position is not necessary. I'm here in little old CMD, New Jersey, USA, and I know that what I say, what I pray, what I proclaim is as good as done. And in some way, shape, or form, it is so, you know, and it is accomplished through the conduction of the most supreme source of all as it sees fit to do so. So it may not necessarily be in my perspective of timing or in the outcome and end result that my human eyes can see, but it's by way of that spirit of intention, again, to literally proclaim the highest frequency of all for all that makes the difference. And that's what these energies here are. Like, this is almost like the secret, I just heard secret sauce. Yeah, that's kind of what it is, but it's like the secret, the secret house secretary? Is that the position? What is that position? Not house secretary, but Secretary of State, or whomever it is that usually is kind of like the mouthpiece of the president, and, you know, usually has the greatest influence behind the scenes. That's the energy that I'm picking up here. And it's more than just one. It's more than just me. I'm sure it's more than just you if you have the intention to do so. There's so many more of us now that have come to realize and assert this mystical power that in many ways we've, if not have been altogether disconnected from, have at least been quite shy about expressing and asserting, for fear of many things. I won't even get into it, but there's been this resistance, even this, a resistance and rejection that has been projected upon that frequency to make you almost feel like you don't have any power, and, you know, feel almost crazy to even think that you do. But a lot of this grooming over the past few years or so has kind of taken the limitations off of that perspective, you know, or that how can I say it, like that limited mindset, so to speak. Well, I already said taking the limitations off. So it's taking the limitations off of that self-realization, you know. So a lot of the grooming that has taken place, the trial and tribulation of this becoming and evolving and ascending and establishing, has not been for no reason, and it hasn't even just been for you, you know, personally, although that was primary, you know, that was paramount first and foremost. But it's something about And I kind of touched on that in the message when I watched it back. I kind of gleaned some more of it, like this realization of who you've been and who you've become over this last cycle of time. That Queen of Wands energy, like that supreme confidence and security in your own creative power, is what the achievement from that World card was. You needed to come to that supreme expression of confidence and what do I call it? Supreme self-esteem. Yeah, like that supreme self-esteem. Because, as I said yesterday, here's the moment. Here's the moment when it actually matters to put your practice into play. And although it felt like before you didn't even know why you were praying or why you were proclaiming or why you were so intentional about a certain outcome or so persistent, so resilient, so, fixated on your own healing and wholeness and so on and so forth, who knew what the purpose truly was behind it all, beyond just being better for yourself? And here it is, that there's so much more to make an impression and an impact upon than you could have ever considered yourself privileged, because it is an honor to do so, or empowered to do so. Yet here you are, in some way, shape, or form, however you expressed your autonomous energy today, whether you voted, whomever you voted for, and however you underwrite that investment moving forward through the rest of this season, makes a big difference. And those that truly know that and assert that, again, are the ones that are driving this ship in spirit and in truth to a new ascended realization. Those that are still just kind of doing it on autopilot, maybe not with as much of an assertiveness, still have a great impact as well, which is why it's even more important for, from yesterday's message to today, to really allow yourself to be expressive in that confidence that you've curated over this time without inhibition, so that it enlivens that frequency of autonomous creativity in someone else that it may be lying dormant in for a time, or that may be unaware that they possess it altogether. But one thing's for sure is that enough are awakened to the influence that they truly do willed to make a difference in how things evolve moving forward. And in some ways, it may not look anything like what is projected to us, publicly through media and things of that sort, but I assure you, there are great changes underway. And however the scales get to be rebalanced to have that optimum outcome, may or may not be astonishing, but the end result will be righteous. It already is. It's already written with the high priestess here, like it's already proclaimed, it's already manifested ahead of us. It's just a matter of that realization unfolding, or really, I suppose us catching up to what has already been realized. Yeah, like finding ourselves in the presence of prophetic realizations. That's it. Especially with the High Priestess and the Queen of Cups, these two energies together, like this is so premium right here. Like people that are really championing for the greatest good of all, like in love, devoted to love, and with righteous intentions. And I'm not talking about religious, although that can apply and however you apply it, but it's not religion for conformity's sake or for convention's sake. It's for righteousness sake. So however it is you practice, there is no discrimination or exclusivity. It just need be in the spirit of love to be empowering and powerful. And there's already so much of this energy being pronounced through, in some ways, like very undercover, very sneaky, but soon enough, it'll be so profoundly pronounced that you won't be able to, deny it. The changes will be so evident, the impact, the impression, it's like it'll start to really kind of permeate everything that we do. That like woman's touch. And I'm not saying this because I think Kamala is absolutely going to win, but it's something about this, like, this touch of gentleness, and that a woman's touch, like, the difference between a bachelor pad that a man has no woman, or no woman that really cares enough to really help him out, and when there's a lady of the house or a lady adjacent to the house that has hand towels and soap and like hand soap and dish rags and more than just 2 towels for like little stuff like that. Not saying that all men are like that, because I've actually known some very pristine men in my experiences. Usually those are the ones, though, that are much more connected to their more watery nature, or even their feminine side, without there being any particular like sexuality definition, but could be very masculine on the outside and still be very gentle and kind and careful and pristine, and just easy to take, careful to take care, is what I'm trying to get out. Some of that energy has been quite undercover, even within the masculine energy, because it hasn't been very popularized or acceptable for that side, that polarity, to be expressed without question mark, or scrutiny or judgment. But this is the thing. All of those limitations are being lifted, so that everyone can find their space of contentment with their organic being, man, woman, child, and polarities expressed in balance. But particularly, and honestly, that's the segue to spiritual supremacy in a way that truly does make an impact and an influence just within, again, your personal life. When you are the example of living in love and leading in love, and it's not necessarily the type of love that we're talking about here that is sappy or super romantic or anything like that. It's really about self-love, appreciation, and understanding. When you can cultivate that for yourself, by yourself, especially in the climate of creation that we live in today, you can absolutely project that outside of yourself and offer it to others as a commodity and also, you know, exemplify it as a potentiality, you know. So all of that is contagious and very impressionable. But again, that's why I say it's not about religion. It's truly just about living in the frequency of love. And also, I didn't get to say, it doesn't have to be sappy. It's self-love, but it's also, again, the allowance of life to unfold through you, around you, adjacent to you, hell, contradictory to you. Like, it's the allowance that is the love factor here, that is universal, you know, without resistance, without prejudice, without contempt, that is moving creation forward, onward and upward. And again, that is what opens the pathways for more creativity as opposed to hyper consumption. And the more creativity, the more fulfillment. You know, there is more space and time for that opportunity to feel well pleased with yourself. Here it is. Here's the creativity, the Page of Wands, because there's an allowance to manifest your spiritual nature outside of yourself in whatever way you feel enlivened to do so. Right now, a lot of times we face a lot of constrictions and restrictions of what we can't do or what we need to do this and that and how we should accomplish this or that. And there's a free flowing that is being cultivated as we speak. And it's sneaky. You don't see it. You don't see it quite yet. Probably the way that I'm speaking of it for many, maybe you do, because if you operate in a frequency that resonates this way, you probably do see it because you've probably been co-creative in the process of manifesting it by way of your prayers and your best intentions and your own spiritual intelligence. But many don't see it on a massive scale, maybe because they're not meant to just yet or weren't meant to just yet, but it's very subtle of an influence. And again, for those that embody this power of influence, you don't need a seat. You don't need a position. You're not beholden to a title. You know, you don't need permission. You don't need a green light. You don't need a clearance. You just do as you feel guided to do, and what feels like, you know, what's again in that alignment of integrity with your core values and morals and standards. What you ultimately treating life the way you desire to live in it. That's the ideal. And so this influence is gaining, it's probably going to pick up depending on certainly who takes that seat, because I mean, honestly speaking, there may be more of, I can't even say that because I don't know, to be honest, but there may be more of an ease with this transition of, how can I say it? Like, I don't even know. Maybe I'm not supposed to. Yeah, maybe I'm not supposed to, but I will say that it will ultimately go from being something that is more covert and subtle to being much more prevalent and pronounced. One way or the other. I don't think it even actually matters what the outcome may be. It already is so. All right. I'm just doing one more because I don't really think there's too much to say. 9 of Swords, some people don't want to see that manifest. It's the worst nightmare for some. But that's okay. They'll get over it or get under it, whichever one happens first. Yeah, because there it is. For the vast majority, this is cause for celebration for a new day. Great changes underway, no matter what. Yep. And again, just as I said, like, there's balance being restored here. I've been saying this for a long time. It really could look like the scales are tipped in the favor of the ladies for a little while. But that's only because they've been so unequally tipped in the favor of the masculine force for as long as I've been on this earth in this lifetime, in this breath of life. And certainly for way longer than that, So sometimes in order to restore balance, there has to be an imbalance first for there to be kind of like a catch up, to bring the feminine force up to speed. Again, like kind of allow them to get acclimated to a true spirit of equality as it's being realized. Because I don't believe it'll be anything overnight, no matter who is in office. But that's where we're headed, because that's what is divinely ordained. And because it's been like this, depending on how you see it and who you are, for it to get like this, there's going to be a little bit, more that needs to be weighted on one side of the other to balance things out. So it's no shade or fade to the patriarchy whatsoever, but it's time for the matriarch to arise, And by that, again, I always want to say, not just the woman, but that feminine force even within the masculine. It's time for there to be a sacred balance between those forces. One there's finally a security to, a security to express without fear of resistance or retaliation or attack, or even competition. Like, even if those energies exist, it's about the feminine almost being encapsulated in her own little bubble of security to still advance no matter what. Like those adversities don't have the impact that they may have had before in previous seasons. Now, whether or not that's the sentiment of anybody or any particular so-called outsider or observer, it doesn't really matter, because it won't have the influence or the impact to impair the progress, or the advancement. Meaning, like, you could be mad about it if you want, but it really won't matter, even with your worst intentions put into action. The female force is on the rise no matter what. And the most supreme of that force, the most well-meaning, the most righteous, the most pure, not the feminine energy that's looking to, take advantage or to enact the injustices that she once had to incur. I don't think that same advancement applies with the ease of which I foresee it for those that are in that more pure frequency. So, take that for what you will as well. But there's certainly something, celebratory in store for those that have ultimately just kind of been humbly waiting their turn and allowing life to unfold naturally without any particular unlawful or not integral, unlawful or hell, let's just call it what it is, diabolical resistance to it. Yeah, something about the hair. I almost feel like, okay, we got the King of Swords. And then the Four of Cups is back again. So like I said, some that feel entitled to their seat or a seat, or feel some type of, they feel a privilege to position based on, I don't know, what they know, who they know, anything of the sort. I'm saying that because if this was something more high vibrational than the Four of Cups, then the King of Swords would be cool. He'd be ideal. Somebody that's insightful, that has vision, that's highly intelligent, skilled, good stuff. Secure in his own identity. That's the highest frequency of it. But with the Four of Cups, are we just looking at the total opposite? So maybe this is the security aspect of those masculine forces that will also thrive in this new ecosystem, as opposed to those that are still somehow resistant to the flow, or resistant to the changes, resistant to their own spirit of creativity. Maybe so. Perhaps that's what that is. Unless this is an inflection of someone that looks the part, looks like they have it all together, but really is still operating in this frequency. I guess it doesn't matter either way, because it speaks to both sides that if this is authentic, cool, you good to go, which is why there's no need to feel threatened by this shift in the wind for women, or to feel offended or resistant in any way, because if you have the perspective that there's more than enough for everyone, and you are really truly operating in the truth of the matter of life as it is, then you would be in alignment with the readjustment for women to be just as advanced and progressive and prosperous and so on and so forth as they've been withheld to do so. There would be no resistance necessary, or no real excuse for it, other than there being some underlying insecurities. And in that case, we are talking about the lower frequency that will ultimately miss out on a really magical and magnificent realization of life that none of us has seen before in this space and time. You couldn't even really project the effect of what it truly will feel like for there to be a widespread spirit of contentment, understanding, and harmony and love throughout the nation and perhaps even around the world. It's only what your wildest dreams and fantasies were made of, and then you still wouldn't have touched the surface, because we really don't have a true point of reference beyond what we've read about, which doesn't even project it in the way that I feel this picture depicts almost perfectly, where everybody has something to celebrate, to be happy about, to look forward to feel secure by, to feel appreciated as. There is no lack, there is no insecurity, there is no threat. Ultimately, it may not happen overnight, but that's where we're headed. That's where we're headed. And for those that have the foresight and insight to visualize and proclaim, that, and this is even on a sophisticated level of profession here, where you can actually, see how it gets to make sense for such a thing to be productive and prosperous, to be realized, not just, the emotional draw of it all and like the emotional allure or provocation of it all, but literally how it could actually and does actually make sense. I feel like we get there much faster to have masculines with their eyes and their ears and their heads on straight, just as committed to the advancement and evolution of us all as we have been, even when we weren't considered in that ideal. The feminine force has been empowering it nonetheless, literally by way of even her power of procreation to keep us going. Not that we know the masculine seed is important too, but to keep us going, to hopefully one day realize a day such as this that we actually would look forward to for our children. And now that day is upon us. I mean, I can kind of hardly believe I'm saying it so certainly as I am, but as I like to say, I don't say nothing for nothing. So however it gets to unfold is going to be something quite astonishing to behold. And I just hope that you are here and I am here to not just witness it, but to experience it firsthand. All right. Shout out to the spiritual savage. He said something the other day, mega, make earth great again. And I was like, oh, I've never heard that. I like that. That's where we're on our way to. Mega. Life on a mega scale. The realization of a mega existence. Yeah, so anyway, happy election day. For what it's worth to you, to me, to anyone listening. If you can't get with the spiritual essence of being empowered by prayer, by proclamation, just know that your words, simply put, have power. Your intentions are a force. So although it may seem small, how you willed your personal energy, it may seem like a low impact force to you. I'm here to tell you that it's not. It's time for us to really start being clear and accountable for the energy that we suppress even, and to allow that energy to be surged in such a way and with responsibility wielded toward positive, productive, and prosperous outcomes. I mean, if you can't count on yourself to at least do that much, good luck counting on someone states away, thousands of miles, or at least hundreds of miles away to do it for you. It doesn't really matter who's in the office. It's time to take total control, total accountability for your own sovereignty and the power that you have the potential and also permission to surge in that right. So, Mr. and Madam President, whoever you are out there, congratulations. This is your moment to make a difference. This is our moment to make a difference. All right, so anyway, thanks for listening and watching. Oh man, pardon me. Until next time, as always, I'll leave you with peace.